My next guest is in the middle of this whole re-election drama, and to see how the midterms go. Congressman Henry Cuellar, the beautiful state of Texas, is a Democrat, but very much his own man. He parts with the party on abortion rights, parts with the party certainly on the border. Kind enough to join us now. Congressman, good to have you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too, Neil.
Now, I know there's been some redistricting in your district. I don't know in the general election how that would affect you. I do know one way or the other you are facing a primary challenge. And for the March contest, you're facing the same woman who came within just a few points of you 2 years ago. Are you ready this time?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've fundraised. We are certainly working the district. The state legislature did make it about 4 points more Democratic than it was last time, but it's the rural Democrats that I think align with me in so many ways. And certainly, you know, we feel very, very confident, but we're going to work it to 7 o'clock on Election Day.
Now, you're facing within the Democratic Party this resistance that you're not, you know, sort of carrying the Democratic Party water on issues like abortion rights and certainly what's going on at the border. You've been very critical of the president. Certainly to those in your district, that's an important issue. I understand that. But, you know, you've made some enemies along the way. Does that worry you?
You know, President LBJ said many years ago, I'm an American, I'm a Texan, and then I'm a Democrat in that order. And I certainly believe in those words. Look, I'm a Democrat. But I'm going to vote my what I think is right for my country, for my state and my district. And I'll just let the chips fall where they fall. And I did that when I was a state legislator, and I certainly haven't changed as a member of Congress. And again, I'm a Democrat, but I will always put the best interests of my district in mind and put it first.
You know, I always wonder, and you know far more about this than I, Congressman, but your party's been overtaken by progressives. I mean, I could have that wrong, but certainly it's their bidding that the president seems to do. And I'm just wondering how that puts you in the mix here, because they don't like a lot of the things, for example, that you stand for.
Well, you know, certainly I think both parties have had extremes. You know, the Republicans have their extreme caucus. The Democrats also have the extreme left. And I think what we need to do is to make sure that we continue doing our job. You know, I know what it is. I mean, I've got some of my folks that have tried to purify me. That is, they don't feel that I'm in the same mold as them. And again, I will vote my district, and that's what I want to do. But I think that's what's wrong with the American politics right now, is that we're letting the extremes on the far left and the far right have the big megaphone. And I think people are just very tired of extremes, and they want us to come up here to Washington and find real solutions to the real problems that we have facing our country.
You know, I'm wondering, though, with 25 Democratic congressmen not looking at getting reelected, you know, quitting now, they must see something happening in November. Does that worry you?
You know, certainly we're going to lose a lot of institutional memory. You know, some of the folks that we're losing have been around for many years, 30 plus years, and we're going to lose a lot of that institutional memory. But, you know, we'll win. You know, if you look at some of the seats that they're leaving, are seats that Democrats will win. Some are competitive. And again, I still feel that the Democrats, we will win in November. I know what the headwinds are. I understand all of that, but I still feel confident that we will win in November.
Now, the border issue that you've made is sort of a clarion call and pushing the president to act on this and see it for what it is. I could be missing something, Congressman, but he's not exactly picked up the baton. And the role that the vice president was supposed to play, I don't know what she's doing. Does that worry you?
Well, you know, what I want to do is to make sure that I have a say-so, and certainly I want to work with people that are willing to work, and especially the career people that we have in Homeland Security. What we, you know, my constituents and the way I feel also is, look, we want to treat the immigrants with respect and dignity. But at the end of the day, we need to enforce the law. We need to enforce the law. And that's what we need to do. You know, we don't want to see open borders. I don't believe in open borders. I don't want to see chaos at the border. Certainly, I want to treat the migrants, you know, with respect and dignity. But if an immigration judge, and you know the numbers, you and I have talked about this, if you have 100 people asking for asylum, an immigration judge will usually grant 10 to 12%. And the other 88 to 90% should be sent back with all due respect. And that's what we want to see up here. And especially not only the urban areas, but especially the rural areas, the ranchers, the farmers that are out there by themselves. They want to make sure that we have security especially in the rural areas.
You know, the administration by now was supposed to release, numbers on apprehensions, those who've been sent back to Mexico. They've not made those numbers available. Do you know why?
I don't. I have seen some numbers, and certainly, the last fiscal year we had a 1.7 million individuals that were encountered. That does not even include the people that got away, and that could be maybe 10%, maybe 15. Nobody really knows. This year, we're still seeing high numbers. I was looking at the numbers in the valley, that is South Texas, and we still are getting there from about 450 individuals to 600 plus a day. A week ago, there were about 5,200 encounters. 2 weeks ago, there were about 9,300 encounters in just 1 week. So the numbers are still high there. And again, if you don't show any consequences, and that's what I say, is that if people feel that they can come into the United States, they're going to come in because they're going to see the border as a speed bump. And we have to show consequences for the ones that, the law says, are not supposed to be here.
Congressman Cuellar, very good chatting with you again. Henry Cuellar of the beautiful state of Texas. Thank you, sir.